Now that we've learned the basics of memorialization, let's return to the potential of memorialization to reap positive benefits in relation to transitional justice, beginning with recognition and healing. In this next video, which will last approximately 10 minutes, we will be sharing key lessons and examples and look forward to speaking with you about this material afterwards. In the interim, please feel free to contact us if you have any questions. Symbolic reparations, such as monuments, museums, and commemorative days, can not only recognize the victims of the conflict, but can also serve as acknowledgement of the violations experienced by the broader society. They can provide spaces for mourning and reflection, contributing to long-term healing on both a personal and broader social level. On a more personal level, participatory memorialization activities can provide an opportunity for survivors' experiences to be shared and recognized within their broader community and can help reintegrate them into society. When thinking about healing, community-led processes can often be particularly effective, as these smaller-scale projects can directly engage survivors and affected communities, ensuring that they speak to survivors' needs and that communities feel a sense of ownership over the project, while also generally requiring fewer resources. Body mapping is a process through which survivors share their stories of the pain, violence, and displacement through life-sized drawings of their own bodies, which are complemented by symbolic descriptions of trauma from their past. The process of creating the body maps allows survivors to work alongside others who have similar experiences of violence and to contextualize their experiences within their larger life's journeys. While the finished body maps are often laminated and then exhibited to create dialogue and allow the survivors to feel a sense of recognition for the pain they have endured. The annual Peace March in Bosnia and Herzegovina typically attracts thousands of participants who march for 3 days to designated sites to honor victims of the 1995 Srebrenica genocide. In 2004, the Liberation War Museum launched a bus-in program designed to provide students from remote areas of the country exposure to the museum in Dhaka, the capital of Bangladesh. A few years later, students were encouraged to interview friends and relatives who bore witness or participated in the war as part of an intergenerational dialogue. The students then recorded their loved ones' first-hand testimonials, which were shared with the museum. Since 2014, an oral history collection of more than 21,000 pieces of writing has been produced through the project, which may be among the largest collections of oral history documentation in the world. By bringing opposing groups together to work on a shared project, exchange perspectives, and discover commonalities, memorialization, over time, can contribute to the rebuilding of relationships in divided communities. For an exhibition called Everyday Objects Transformed by Conflict, a group called Healing Through Remembering in Northern Ireland put out a call to the public to asking for contributions, specifically for everyday objects that represented some particular aspect of their lives from the 30-year-long conflict in the north of Ireland, known as the Troubles. Crucially, the exhibition did not seek to tell one single story about what happened, but instead recognized that individuals and communities experienced the conflict differently. By making room for multiple stories and points of view, the exhibition showed how the conflict permeated all aspects of people's lives, regardless of their religious or political affiliations, and facilitated an exchange of perspectives across societal divides. Another goal of memorialization can be truth-telling and setting the historical record straight. By documenting human rights violation, memorialization projects can contribute to broader post-conflict truth-telling processes. Memory sites themselves may provide physical evidence of gross human rights violations. By preserving and contextualizing sites of past human rights violations, memorialization initiatives can also contribute to broader transitional justice truth-telling processes and publicly validate the testimonies of survivors. In Cambodia, a former detention and torture center, Tuol Sleng, was used by the genocidal Khmer Rouge regime and has since been converted to a memorial museum to educate the public about what happened in this place. For societies coming out of conflict, repressive regimes, or long periods of violence, one of the key challenges they often face is how to address the distorted narratives, lies, or denials of the previous regime. In addition to truth commissions, memorialization initiatives can offer a powerful way to rewrite the past in a way that presents a more accurate portrayal of what happened, legitimizes the experiences of victims, and promotes respect for the rights of all citizens. Similarly, creative processes can provide opportunities for survivors to share information about their experiences of violence that may not be known to the wider public. In Colombia, a group of women from El Castillo participated in a handcraft workshop to create dolls resembling victims of the armed conflict. The women recorded their testimonies on MP3 players that were then displayed with the finished dolls as part of a traveling exhibition. The use of the symbolic objects, here dolls, also prevented the survivors from having to publicly disclose their identities in a context where doing so could present security challenges. By addressing distortions of the past and rewriting a historical narrative that is inclusive of all social groups, memorialization can mark a new era of democracy and celebrate a sense of identity that doesn't need to be based on division or hatred. This can be done at the national, regional, or communal levels. An example of this is Constitution Hill in South Africa, which was a prison during the apartheid regime. As the country was rebuilding itself in the wake of apartheid, it was transformed into the site of the new constitutional court, deliberately chosen because of its history of oppression to symbolize and celebrate the country's transformation. In Cambodia, where the history of Khmer Rouge regime was not taught in schools for many years, Youth for Peace holds intergenerational dialogues between survivors of the genocide and youth to disrupt that culture of silence and facilitate intergenerational learning. The stories shared by survivors are then painted on the walls of peace centers by members of the community with scenes from the conflict as it was experienced locally, to preserve the memory of what happened in that location and to symbolize the community's commitment to prevent it from recurring. Through education programs, memorialization initiatives can promote cultures of respect for human rights, help us draw important lessons from the past, and prevent violence from recurring. In Rwanda, the Kigali Genocide Memorial is a memorial museum built on a site where over 250,000 victims of genocide are buried. It is a permanent memorial to the victims of the genocide and hosts exhibitions that aim to analyze the roots of the violence that occurred and serve as a powerful reminder and educational tool for future generations. Further, survivors of the genocide serve as tour guides for the museum and are able to share their personal experiences with visitors in their own words, which provides another source of healing. At a smaller, more communal scale in Guinea, a civil society organization called Kojedef commissioned paintings which were created based on stories shared by young people about their experiences of violence and human rights violations during political protests. In addition to preserving these stories about atrocity prevention strategies between at-risk communities and security forces, and to advocate for institutional reform. In closing, memorialization plays a key role in engaging communities in transitional justice initiatives even before other formal transitional justice processes are implemented. And these efforts will continue to play a crucial role in dealing with the past, peace building, and reconciliation even for many years after transitional justice mechanisms have completed their mandates. How might your community be able to use memorialization as a form of transitional justice based on what you have learned thus far?